Welcome to council. Welcome to everyone at this meeting of full council. Whoever the meeting is at Civic Centre, observing the meeting on Microsoft and on council my Facebook. No fire drill expected this evening, so in the event of the alarm sounding, quietly make your way. Sorry, make your way. Out of the building. There are 3 exits from this room, which you can use to vacate the premises. Mobile phones shall be switched off onto silence and switch off any calls and take outside the council chamber. Do not leave any possessions or unaccompanied, and or report any accompanied or possessions remain in or take any away the possession with you when you meeting is concluded or as you leave the meeting. This meeting may be subject to filming, auto recording by others, and again with the council filming protocol. Anyone who remains in the meeting following this again will have to need to consented to allow the image to be recorded and broadcast. I would like to remind to turn off your mobiles and speak microphones, microphones, and speak and sit back from the microphones to access audio recording. Before we turn to the public agenda, I would ask everyone present in the chamber to stand for a minute's silence. Following the recent death of the Royal Highness Duchess of Kent, a minute's silence, please.
Okay.
Right, okay. Thank you. May be seated. Thank you. I will now turn to the agenda for the meeting. Item 1, apologies of absence.
Thank you, Chair. We have apologies from councillors Cole, Ellis, Richardson, Hinkle and North. Thank you.
Is any apologies, John? Thank you, John. Declare of interest. Yeah, any declaration of interest? No. Thank you. Yeah. Appointment 3, minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of July 2025. Please can I have a proposer? John? Can I have a seconder? Paul? Any amendments to this? No. So count that as a true record then. Thank you. Yeah, vote. Yeah. Now, can we take the vote and we'll show of hands in favour? Raise your hands. Yep. Yep. Unanimous. Okay. Going to meeting confirmed. Right, Chair. Yeah, we approved it anyway. Okay, thank you. Item 6. Oh, no, item 4, sorry. Assistant of incorporation by the chair of council, an elected mayor member, and of chair excluding officer.
Thank you, Chair. There are no correspondence for tonight's meeting.
Item 5, advanced questions from members of the public. Is there any?
There are none, Chair.
All right. Item 6, advanced questions from elected members. Are there any available questions?
Yes, Chair, there is 3 questions.
Yeah, Councillor Caminero. Put your question forward.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. The question to portfolio holder. With the recent incident at the Walton Street car park, can the Cabinet member outline the steps that have been undertaken to minimise disruption to affected businesses? Can the Cabinet member also give assurances that similar issues won't be uncovered at other council-run buildings, especially the nearby Four Seasons car park?
Yeah, thank you so much, Councillor Camilleri, for your question. I can confirm that the 3 shops on the ground floor below the car park, B&M, British Heart Foundation and Bow Lake Foods, were evacuated by emergency services following this incident on the Saturday, the 30th of August. Following an initial inspection and advice from a structural engineer, it became clear that in the interest of safety, the shop units would need to close for a minimum of 2 weeks, whilst detailed inspections were undertaken by building control officers and the council's appointed structural engineer.
Charles, can you just put the mic a bit closer, mate? We can hear you.
Last week, following a detailed structural assessment, the council's structural engineers and building control officer concluded that in the interest of public safety, the car park and the 3 commercial units needed to be demolished. Is being undertaken under Section 28 of the Section 78 of the Building Act 1984. The council have been in frequent contact with the 3 businesses, together with Johnson Factors as the managing agent of the retail units on behalf of Tesco plc. It is important to highlight that the 3 retail occupiers, like the council, are direct tenants of Tesco plc. So therefore, Tesco plc have direct responsibility for their tenants. The council continue to provide advice and support to the businesses, along with any information required to inform their insurers. The council have also been in contact with all the other businesses on Stockwell Gate. Numerous letters have been issued providing updates, and the council's chief exec has been to meet all businesses to answer any questions at this stage and to understand any concerns they may have. A commitment to hold monthly meetings with Stockwell Gate businesses leading up to and during the demolition of the site has also been offered by the chief exec. Additional signage has been erected on Stockwell Gate, confirming businesses on Stockwell Gate remain open. The council and Mansfield Forward Bid are working together to enhance communication channels, confirming that businesses remain open. Regarding other assets, particularly Four Seasons car park, the property services team are in contact with the Four Seasons shopping centre management team and work closely with them, together with the appointed contractor, on the proposed remedial works to this car park, which are due to commence in the next few months. The Four Seasons car park has been inspected by the council's appointed structural engineer on a regular basis. Tenders have recently been received and reviewed to carry out gate repairs, drainage improvements, waterproofing works, resurfacing and general improvements. The project will be an investment of just over 1.9 million. This investment will extend the life cycle of the asset and will provide a much improved car parking experience for users of the town centre. Thank you.
Supplementary, yeah. Would the cabinet member agree with me that this mess isn't all the fault of the present administration? And it was largely caused under the now defunct Mansfield Independents when the current reform leader was deputy mayor. They chose the £1.7 million in vanity cladding over vital repairs. And because of this poor decision, businesses have closed, jobs have been lost, residents' money has been wasted, and the council left carrying long-term liabilities. Yeah, but on top of that, you not only did that, you left us with Clapham as well, another loss. And they claimed, Soraka Reform, led by the largely failed ex-Mansfield Independents, because they were a failure, claimed to be the party of sound financial management at Nottingham County Council. I've got to say, it's scary, really is scary. My question to the cabinet, keep calm, keep calm, keep calm. You're in charge. My question to the cabinet member is, with 51 years remaining on the full repairing lease at £235,450 per year, will Walton Street owners seek reparation? And if so, how will this impact on our already overstretched budget?
Councillor Camilleri. Over the past weeks, the council's resources have been deployed in the interest of public safety, which is a core priority at this time. Now the council moves from incident response phase. The cabinet have requested that officers and the council's external advisors engage with relevant parties to determine what the demolition of the site means to the council's lease arrangement with Tesco. I can assure you that officers will be engaging on this matter in the best interest of the council and to mitigate any impacts on the public purse. Detailed negotiations are yet to commence, but rest assured these will be developed over the coming weeks and months. Given the complexity of this matter and for awareness of council, Cabinet have requested that the council's CEO keeps all members updated on the progress of this matter. Thank you.
Have your second question, Moxon, Councillor Moxon? Well, first question then. Yeah, I'm just saying what it's saying on here, question 2.
Thank you, Chair. A recent planning application has been
my microphone working on.
That better? No? That better? Yeah. All right. Thank you for your question, Councillor Moxon. The site you reference is identified as a strategic urban extension in the adopted Mansfield Local Plan 2013 to 2033, policy SUE 2, with the proposal including approximately 800 new homes, a new neighbourhood centre, primary school and an extension to the Crown Way Industrial Estate. As in all cases, the application will be considered against the current national and local planning policies, and all material planning considerations will be considered in the determination of the application. In accordance with the council procedure guidance, public consultation has been undertaken through the erection of site notices, press notices and individual letters in compliance with the council policy. And any observations made will be given consideration in the processing of the application. Thank you.
Councillor Moxon, you got a supplementary question?
No, no, thanks.
Okay. All right. Councillor Moxon, you got a second question?
I have, yes. This is a question to the mayor. If a local news outlet published a story that was unflattering to yourself or your political group, would you consider banning that news outlet from receiving press releases from Mansfield District Council or from interviewing yourself or your group's councillors?
Well, I can say a categorical no to that. That's been many challenges over many years. I mean, as elected officials, we are quite rightly subject to public scrutiny, and the media plays a vital role in holding us to account. The open relationship that exists between the council and media outlets is mutually beneficial and something that should be nurtured. Banning the media is of no benefit to any party and would be damaging to the free speech principles on which the democracy of this country is based. These principles should be protected as they are essential to inform our decision making, holding leaders to account and fostering public debate. On a wider view of this question, I mean, the war, what we fought for was, you know, for freedom of speech and for democracy. Around this area, political parties that always focus on nationalism, but forget that many nations across the world, the Commonwealth, fought for those freedoms and that freedoms of speech. It's a global principle. I mean, the opposite of free speech is dictatorship. There are many countries around the world where you get thrown into prison if you express your opposition to the state. Russia, for instance. Some political parties should be careful about which leaders they choose to support. In the UK, how can we criticise and claim to hold any moral ground if we don't uphold those principles of free speech in our district, in our county, and across the country? Locally, it is also important that our residents are informed of the actions that we are taking, having been elected by them, so they can ask questions, challenge, and criticise. We have set up overview and scrutiny as part of this system, and it is so important that the information is communicated in an open and transparent way. We cannot be selective on what we choose to answer and reject those challenges that they're not to our liking. It's so hypocritical when considering on Facebook the many mistruths and misinformation that spread. If you compare this to the honest, forthright challenge to factual information and debate, which is withheld, preventing access from our local journalists, radio and reporters from across the region. This particular question, I believe, was sparked by a debate about Mansfield's future. This administration has been working hard and presented the factual information to members in this chamber at full council on our reasons why we are supporting option 1E as part of local government reorganisation. This brings Mansfield, Ashfield, Bassetlaw, Newark, Sherwood and Gedling together to form the Northern Unitary. I can fully understand why there would be opposition amongst reform ranks to the option 1B. that chooses to put Mansfield in working partnership with Rushcliffe instead of our near neighbours in Gedling. Considering that both options 1E and 1B have themselves shown themselves to be economically viable, it's easy to see why some of the reform councillors might want to form partnerships with their next door neighbours that we have historical and cultural ties, better transport links, and even a child could identify it's a more sensible geography. Unfortunately, that debate, when it's closed down, can cause a problem in the long term. So closing down freedom of speech is a very dangerous road to go down, and not the open and inclusive society that I want for my grandchildren. Thank you for the question, Councillor Moxon. Yep, Councillor Moxon, you got a supplementary question?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I agree with much of what you've just said, Andy, possibly with the exception of the LGR, but we can have that debate, and that's the great thing about our democracy, is that we have that debate in public and nothing's hidden. And I'm a firm believer that it's vital that councils of all political persuasions are scrutinised and held to account. So with that in mind, would you agree with me that the local democracy reporting service, along with Nottingham Post, Mansfield Chad, and local radio stations like BBC Radio Nottingham and Mansfield 103.2 are all doing a great service by providing vital journalism locally to ensure that members of the public are kept up to date and that councils and their services are adequately scrutinised and held to account?
I couldn't endorse that even more, you know. We have some fantastic local journalists. We're very lucky. They're very invested in our community. They speak for our community. And we, you know, in our lofty perches, we need to hear what they've got to say, and we need to be challenged, because that's where the real effects of decisions that we make are felt. So, you know, I'm very pleased that you've raised this question. And the local media journalists, they deserve parade and access to us.
Item 7, delegate decision by portfolio corporate and finance. Corporate finance, revenue and capital forecast for the end of the year. Quarter. Can I bring Councillor Whitley in, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. This is the Q1 monitoring report, and it gives us an early picture of how the Council's finances are shaping up for the year ahead. It's important to stress that these are forecasts at the first checkpoint. The position will inevitably shift as we go through the year, and it often looks quite different by the time we close the accounts. The headline is that, like every household and every business, we're still living with the aftershocks of the cost of living crisis. Prices are higher than anyone would like, recruitment is tough, and residents are feeling the pinch. Those same pressures affect the council too, from energy bills to agency staffing to the income we get from rents. What matters is how we respond, and I'm pleased to say that our officers are already working hard to make savings, find efficiencies, and protect frontline services. Where we've had challenges, we've also had successes. For example, securing savings on pay costs, generating additional grant income, and keeping our savings programme on track. On the housing side, we've seen higher than expected void levels, but our balances remain strong, and we're continuing to invest in new homes and essential improvements. Residents will still see kitchens, bathrooms, and heating systems being upgraded and new builds coming forwards. On the capital programme, the schemes are taking longer than planned. Some schemes are taking longer than planned, which is not unusual, but those budgets do remain protected and will be carried forward so the projects are delivered. So, in short, the report shows the council is keeping a steady hand on the tiller in challenging waters. We're making sure that Mansfield remains resilient, and that we are protecting services and continuing to invest in our communities. Finally, I'd like to thank officers across the council for the way they are managing these pressures. Their hard work behind the scenes keeps the services going for residents, and that should never be taken for granted. Chair, I propose that the recommendations in section 2 of the report be accepted by full council. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Great. Can I have a second, please?
I'll second and reserve the right.
Thank you. Any further comments of the motion? And yeah. Yeah. Andy, are you going to comments?
I'd just like to endorse what Craig said there. Our officers and staff are doing an absolutely brilliant job with a very challenging programme of capital works and improving our housing stock, construction prices, very difficult to keep within budgets and things. So I'm really pleased that we're keeping such a tight grip on things whilst carrying out these essential works that's going to take the town forward.
You're going to be in any final comments?
Nothing further to add, Chair. Thank you.
Can I bring this motion for a show of hands, please? Those in favour? Sorry about it. Unanimous? Any against? There we are, then. Legislation? Nope. Yeah. The motion has been approved. Right. Yeah. Item 8, licence panel. Chief Executive, please can you present this report, please?
Thank you, Chair. And just for Council's reference, this report is agenda item 8 in pages 41 within the paper pack. This report is for Council to consider the future start times for the meetings for the licensing panel, which includes that of the taxi licensing panels, and for other committee meetings in exceptional circumstances. Committee may recall that at the meeting of Council on 26th of November, there was an approved motion concerning the start times of meetings of the authority, which was agreed that all meetings and committees commence at 6 p.m. Council agreed that delegated decision, that Health and Safety Committee, Joint Communicative Committee and the Personnel Committee, when interviewing for senior management positions, were exempt from this provision. And the Council resolution made no exemption for the meeting of licensing panels at that time. However, subsequently, since the decision was taken, and in the interest of enabling the licensing panels to proceed without having any problematic impact from external parties or other bodies being a part of the panel, the paper is presented today to make an amendment to allow for the holding of the licensing panels in advance of 6 p.m. The recommendations within the paper, for which there are two, are recommendation 1, that the meetings of the licence panel be exempt from the Council's resolution regarding the commencement times of meetings and the committees. And secondly, that in exceptional circumstances, other meetings may start before 6 p.m, following the Chair having consulted with the committee members. Thank you, Chair.
Any questions on the report? No. Another opposer, please.
No, President, please, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder.
Right, Chair.
Thank you. And any comments on the motion? Councillor Moxon.
Thank you very much. And I suppose I should sit here quite smug at the attempt that I made last year to actually change the motion that went through to do exactly what you've put now, but I'm not smug about it at all. I'm actually really angry that I was shot down in flames that night and told that I was being pedantic about it, and yet now here we are 9, 10 months later, voting on exactly pretty much the exact same thing that I put forward as an amendment to the motion. And I'm annoyed that we've wasted a load of members' time on this. We've wasted officers' time on having to come up with this, and we wasted the people's time on licensing panel that's had to sort of go at a time when it wasn't really suited to them. So I'm just really annoyed that politics got in the way of what was a genuine attempt to try and fix the motion that was put forward last year. And here we are, 10 months later, you've had to admit defeat.
Yeah, and any other questions or comments? Good. So
The motion that last year we put forward was in regards to meetings. Well, this is a panel which is different. So we've recognised that in panel meetings, they can take a lot of time, and daytime is probably the most suitable time to hold these particular meetings.
Councillor Camilleri?
I've misunderstood that. No, it's not, surely. I mean, you're going to change the times of the licensing meeting, but you've also got the right to change the time of any other meetings when it justifies it. So really, you've done absolutely nothing other than have a motion last year and come back here with the same things we started out with. So that is not quite correct what we've just said. You're going back to where you were before. We made.
They're going to what my motion.
Yeah, what Nigel said. Yes, right.
Recommendations, what's on the sheet, is what we're going to. Councillor Parkin.
Is there any further comment?
Yeah, any further comments on this motion? Yes, Chair, Councillor Barton. Right, okay, thank you. Councillor Burton, any final comments?
Thank you, Chair. It's a shame that the motor officer at the time didn't point this out when the motion was sat in their inbox for several weeks. They could have quite easily come back to me and suggested this amendment. Unfortunately, they didn't. Regarding Councillor Moxon's amendment, I don't recall it mentioning anything about licensing panels or licensing committees or taxi hearings. And the comment about politically motivated votes and things, I think tonight's questions just go to show who plays political games in this chamber. It's certainly not me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that, Andy. Right, we'll put the motion forward for the vote. A show of hands. Those in favour? Those against? Abstentions? Right. Yeah, the motion's been approved. Okay, thank you. Item 1, motions. Are there any motions for this meeting?
There is one, Chair.
Right. Councillor. Are you sure?
Thanks, Chair, for bringing me in. I'm not going to read the motion that's in the agenda out verbatim, because I suppose everybody had time to look at it and digest it. So it gives me great pleasure to move the motion, which is in the agenda before you. The motion was raised as there were concerns that reform-led councils are moving away from the scientific evidence that human beings are contributing to global warming and climate change. Just over the border in Derbyshire, policies to tackle the causes and impact of climate change have been scrapped by the reform-led Derbyshire County Council. In Durham, It comes after the Reform administration came into power. They voted to scrap the council's climate emergency pledge. In West Northamptonshire, again, a Reform-run county council, they scrapped their net zero targets. In Worcestershire, there was a debate in relation to whether or not man-made climate change existed. And it was debated at the council. All the Reform councillors voted against, as they indicated that they don't think man-made climate change exists. 20 of them voted against and a few of them abstained. In Kent, again, a Reform-run county council, they're discussing a motion to rescind the authority's declaration of a climate emergency, I think this Thursday. And I think this, you can have different opinions, but you can't have different facts. 2024 was the hottest year on record, and the first to surpass 1.5 degrees C of warming. According to the European Copernicus Climate Service, one of the main global data providers, the UN climate body, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, concluded in 2023 that human activities, principally through emissions of greenhouse gases, have unequivocally caused global warming. Reform councillors have indicated they don't think man-made climate change exists. The actions of these Reform-led councils is not surprising when you consider who funds their private party. Key Reform UK proposals on climate energy, if they ever form a government, are to scrap net zero targets. Reform UK would remove the legal commitment to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. They have indicated that they would end renewable subsidies. They advocate for accelerating the licensing of oil and gas and exploration in the North Sea. They want to reverse emission mandates. The party would scrap bans on new internal combustion engines. They want to change farm subsidies. Instead of climate-related farming subsidies, they propose shifting to direct payments for farmers. And no focus on a few trees that they intend to plant will mitigate the terrible move towards climate warming. I can criticise Reform's approach to this because at the end of the day, when you look at the analysis, the fact of global warming and the contribution that man or humankind are making to it is not negotiable. I think at the end of the day, we have got to renew our commitment as a local authority. Indeed, the Local Government Association say that local government has a major role to play in reaching net zero by 2050. And then when we look at the proposals to scrap the green energy that the Reform Party want to do, they aren't looking at the green transition. Green transition means that we're going to invest, the government's going to invest in providing jobs, which will mitigate and which will enhance what the country is going to do. Green jobs mean well-paid jobs in areas that have suffered devastation. So I think the motion before you is worthy of support from every member in this room tonight. I move the motion, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Sue Swinsko, you're seconding.
I second the motion and reserve the right.
Is there any comments on the motion? Jacob?
I would just like to say how much it surprises me that Reform, a party to attests to care so much about immigration, would be against such policies, because in the next 20 years, as projections state, and most scientists agree, the African continent is likely to turn into a barren desert. And if that is to happen, what do you think thousands of Africans who already speak the English language and, thanks to our colonial past, have cultural links with this country, where do you think they're going to go when their countries can no longer support them to live? Also, I would like to say, for a party that champions British independence, I would think you would want to be for us moving to renewables. That way, we will no longer have to rely on countries such as Saudi Arabia for oil, who, I might remind you, we all know what their leadership does to the journalists. So, again, it surprises me that Reform, of all parties, would not be for green policies, because if we are for green policies, I think it would attest to achieve all the things you attest to care about.
Further comments on this motion? Can we just have a bit of order in the chamber, please, as well, while people are talking? Sharon?
Thank you, Chair. I welcome this motion, especially because my residents in Plesley 2 years ago were flooded out of their village. And those residents, it took them a year to get back in their own homes. Some of them became very, very ill because of that. And for the last 2 years, I have been meeting with councillors and officers on Derbyshire County Council, Bolsover District Council, Mansfield District Council, and also Nottinghamshire County Council to try and come to some resolve and where we can get some funding for not just Plesley, but for the whole district. And let's remember, it's across the country and it's a global issue. But we need to put more funding in this to protect our residents. And I welcome this. Thank you.
Richard Temple.
Thank you, Chair. Most things that I say in here come from being also a councillor, but also a teacher. My qualification in teaching citizenship and PSHE, which originally covered climate change, global warming, etc. So for me, this is a must. This motion is bang on where we should be. We live in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. People at the moment are shouting how great Britain is, and we should all agree that yes, it is, but we have to keep it that way. We have one of the largest diplomatic services in the world that probably has more power, soft power, than anywhere else in the world. And what we do counts. The whole world watches what we do. And if this country that we all agree is Great Britain doesn't stay great by helping the rest of the world get to a position where we're slowing down climate change and global warming by getting back to net zero, if we can, and at least try, then there's something wrong. Because we're not Little Britain, we're Great Britain. And I tell my kids all the time when I teach this sort of stuff, that in the past we have been very, very powerful and influential, and we must keep it that way. And if people are going to wave flags of Great Britain, then they better damn well stick up for what this country should be doing, not throwing it away and making us look like Little Britain. We teach our kids all the time that they should look to their future. Sorry. And I've just gone 60, and most people in here, forgive some people, at 50 or above. But we're not looking after people that age and below. We should be. And if we're not careful, we all know, actually, we talked about 2024 being the hottest year. This year has been the hottest year again. It was just announced about a week and a half ago. There's been a hottest summer, hotter than 1977. No, not many people can tell us that that's not man-made climate change.
But don't just take it from me and don't take it from my kids. Take it from a Nobel Peace Prize winner, the youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner, Malala Yousafzai, who said that 2 years ago, due to climate-related events, millions of girls lose access to schools. Events like droughts and floods impact schools, directly displacement caused due to some of these events caused by man-made climate change. Because of that, girls in particular are impacted most. They're the first to lose out in schools and the first to return to school. That's from one of the bravest young people on this globe. She's got a bit more influence than us. We must be looking outward and we must be trying to influence the rest of the world, and what we do in this country counts. We are not Little Britain, we are Great Britain. They keep telling us that. They're right, but we've got to keep it that way. I'll be supporting this motion for all of those reasons. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for that. Is there any more further comments on this motion? Councillor Andy Byrne.
Thank you, Chair. I'm grateful that my colleagues brought this forward and recognises the motion that I put forward 6 years ago now. Wow, that's gone quick. And it was supported unanimously in this chamber at the time, if I recall. I will be supporting this motion, obviously, although I do think we need to just err on this side of caution by aiming to speed this process up. When I wrote the motion in 2019, I did consider the term which was going to be achieved, and I did initially look at 2030, but that would only have been 11 years at the time. Obviously, it's only 5 now. And while our officers are doing a fantastic job to reduce the emissions that this council produces with the electric vehicles or the renewable energies we've put on our leisure centres, for example, and they've done a brilliant job to bring in funding externally to do that, so it's not a strain on this council's funding. If we did increase that aim to 2030, I don't think that would unfortunately be achievable. So I support everything in this motion. However, I just want to err on the side of caution. I know it's not instructing us to do it, but we just need to be careful that we're not going to set ourselves up to fail if we did move that forward to 2030. Thank you.
Any further comments?
Yeah, I think I'd like to echo Councillor Hartshorn's comments, because we are seeing the real world consequences of global warming already, and as in Mansfield, other areas in Nottinghamshire have also been severely affected by flooding in recent years and at unprecedented levels. So when county councils make decisions that they're not going to put funding into X, Y, Z, or deal with the impacts of that, the impacts of climate change, that has a real world impact on residents. It's not about trying to win votes through some sort of populist campaign or denial of, the science. When you make decisions like that, it has a real world impact on residents. So I sincerely hope that Reform councillors in Nottinghamshire will not be pursuing the same policies that we've seen in other Reform councils elsewhere in the country.
Any more on this motion? Hello.
So I will be supporting this motion, but I'd just like to say a little bit about what MDC have been doing regarding building sustainable new homes, not quite passive homes yet, but the 97% there, which all helps with our climate change. And, I would like to say MDC is putting money where its mouth is, or either way you'd like to take that one. And actually it's something to be proud of that we're working that way, although, it is slightly more cost. But actually we've got a vested interest, and I think, like Councillor Tempest Mitchell said, it's about our younger generations coming up. We want to give them a legacy that they can look forward to, not that we're going to look forward to extinction.
Right. Camera, no.
Thank you very much. I've been thinking about this. There's a lot of talk about we want our country back. We want to go back to a better time. We want to get our country back. Now, some people, and some reform people, especially on that, are as old as me. When you look back to the environment 50 years ago, where we were, where the River Mourne was, filthy, where the Trent was filthy, where we lived. I came from the bottom of Forest Road. I lived in a cottage at the bottom of Forest Road with no gas, no electricity, no proper running water. So we want to go back to that. We want our country back. Now, what this does, whether you agree with the world's changed because of environment, the heat or whatever, the world's changed. And all these changes to the environment, the green policies, changing to electric cars, even if you don't agree with it, the world is a better place. It's cleaner. Kids live longer. We live into 80 and 90 years old, where 75 was really old. And that's because the environment's changed. We've worked at it. I'd say we argue about, well, yes, the world's changed, getting hotter. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not a scientist. But I know that the world has changed and it's a better place. And the only reason it's better, because we don't look back. Reform look back to a time, well, I don't know, well, I look back 50 years and Mansfield and people, poor people, lived in abject poverty. I don't want to look back. People 100 years ago were getting cholera through dirty water. Perhaps Reform didn't want to clean the water up.
Can a bit of order, please?
No. But this part of looking back, want our country back. Where do you want the country back to go back to? The country is what it is. It's a great country. It's the best country in the world. Everybody's treated the same. Immigration has got to be controlled. Yeah, we get that. That's a fact. But it's a great country. And looking back and saying the country's rubbish, it really gets me down, especially on the environment. The environment is so much better now. And in 10 years' time, if we do these things, it'll be even better. That's what we want to do, move forward to a greener, cleaner, better place for our kids. That's what it's about. Having dirty petrol engines, bloody diesel engines, that is not what we want. We want a cleaner world. That's why I want to support this. I'm not an environmentalist. I just believe in a better world for our kids. I don't think they do.
Drew Stendhal.
Okay, so can you all hear me? So I'd like to bring this back to this motion. I will support it. I personally don't think that a letter going to the county council, I don't think that they will mind a letter going, and I would like to see that the reply from that letter is read out here in this council so we can hear where these motions go, what happens to them, what's the point of them, whether they're successful or not. We talk about global warming, climate change. Well, I'm probably the one in this council chamber that's got the oldest car in that car park out there. If you got rid of your tractors and your big engines, you probably wouldn't need electric. In 23 years, I've done 112,000 miles in that car. You do the maths. So if you'd all only done that sort of mileage, personally, then we'd be a lot better off. I understand that there's businesses that need to have more. Please, I'm not stupid. But we talk about climate change itself, but it's not all about global warming. Climate change can be about, yes, floods, countries that flood, and change, and we are changing. So I would like to see the reply from the county council read out in this chamber when it's returned. Now, whether I need to add that onto this motion and have it extended and change the motion with some wording on the bottom, I'm quite happy to do that. I'm quite happy to put that wording on, that the reply from this motion from the county council is read out in this council to the bottom of this motion. Because if we don't, we've got a motion that a letter can be sent and we can get a reply, and will we get to know it unless we go and ask? So I'm asking, I need a seconder. Who's going to second me to have on this motion put words to say when the reply comes back from county council that it is read out in this council chamber? Thank you.
Thank you, June. Is there any more? Right, what we're going to do on this motion, we're going to oppose it at the correspondence for the next council meeting, if that's okay for everybody. Is that all right? Can we show hands? Is that all right with you? Yeah. Yes, I'm asking you a question, if that's okay, what we're doing. Yeah, just clarify if you don't mind.
Shall I just clarify? So what the chair's suggesting is that we bring the response that we've received to the letter back under the correspondence item at the next council meeting.
Okay. Any further comments? Oh, sorry, Andy. Andy, Mayor.
I think it's really important what that reply says, though, because we passed a climate emergency, and they're just words, aren't they? But we're really proud of what we've actually done practically towards climate change since we had that motion. We've got a sustainability officer that looks at the things to make sure that we do design in the most sustainable way. The houses that we built some passive houses. The council affordable houses that we're building are to the 2025 building regs. That's 80% less CO2 emissions. But what we're talking about there is people's heating bills being reduced. So it's actually helping them with the cost of living crisis. We brought in glass recycling. Never had glass recycling here. And then that was, it took some courage for an investment, but actually we more than made our money back on that because the return on the price of glass recycling. So recycling. The point being is that we all have a responsibility. There's lots of things we can do. With regard to the flooding issue, Mansfield, biggest project in the whole of the country for urban greening, sustainable urban drainage. There's been, people have lobbied against it, and what it's actually doing is taking stormwater out of the system so people haven't got sewage going into their homes. This is all about looking forward, looking about forward technology. And when it's not only, it's a moral question. We've talked about our next generation and our children and protecting the environment for them, but it's also our industrial and economic strategy that's going to make us wealthy. This investment, we've been trying to sell this idea from a small place in Mansfield, but spread it out across the East Midlands because we want people to come and invest in retrofitting all the houses, bring those skills that come with it. So I think the county council, we have worked in partnership in the past. So we want to get together and we want to make sure